or less risky, or we don't know yet?
Well, it's sort of, the way I see it is the tragedy of the commons, as you would say, that we have across Africa, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of electricity, the lack of reliability, and all the things that we would take for granted in advanced markets is an opportunity. Before the westward expansion in the United States, there were entrepreneurs who wanted to build rail networks. The gold rush, there were entrepreneurs who said, I don't want to be the guy digging for the gold, I want to be the guy supplying the shovels, because that's a perennial business. And so I think there's an opportunity across Africa to create the utilities that Africa will need in the next decade. In finance, in industry and infrastructure across the board. And yes, we of course need a legislative and a regulatory environment to keep pace with it. But honestly, in the 21st century, what good is copyright protection? Copyright protection is speed to market. Because the second, every single time I have a really good idea and I go, this is the one. And I start doing some research on it, I'm like, it's late, I'm late. And so for me, speed to market matters more, and the sooner you learn that you're about to fail or you're not quite onto something is the sooner you could shift just a bit and adapt your position in the marketplace. On funding, I don't see that there's more risk. On the contrary, I think we're in an era where anybody, anywhere can democratize access to capital. With a smartphone, I mean, M-Pesa is a great example. What percentage of Kenya's GDP is transferred through this platform? It's now become a utility. The financial regulator may have a view on what is the role that we have to play in regulating this type of money transfer situation. And so you've completely, as we said in the description of this panel, leapfrogged brick and mortar banking, you've leapfrogged fixed line telephony. And so how many more spaces are yet to be jumped over? And all of those sort of conventional approaches that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend importing Silicon Valley style entrepreneurship or funding into Africa. I think you needed a completely different model. Investors want things that many companies and many startups in Africa cannot provide. What's your exit strategy? Well, how many markets are terribly liquid across the continent? And so if someone asks you for an exit, you say, I'm building a business I want to run, not a business I want to fund. So dear entrepreneur out there, negotiate hard with the people who have the capital. Tell them I'm here to stay. I'm going to be the shea butter production mogul right there in the audience. You have a great example of what you could do when you stick with something. So don't run a business for 3 or 5 years, which is the investment horizon most investors want. Run a business for life and create a business off of which you can, go into adjacent markets. So from shea butter to this butter to that butter and create conglomerates. And that's how a lot of huge firms have created a lot of value. IBM has a venturing unit, right?
I should know. One of the places that entrepreneurs figure out a lot of this stuff is in the incubators and through the organizations that you have. And so I have a very global job. I travel all over the world. I do what